SCMP comments as, the U.S. and China must avoid dropping a silicon curtain. Bill restricting U.S. contracts with Chinese biotech firms among first to pass House in China week. German warships to cross. SCMP comments as, the U.S. and China must avoid dropping a silicon curtain. Bill restricting U.S. contracts with Chinese biotech firms among first to pass House in China week. German warships to cross Taiwan Strait for first time in 22 years, defying Beijing's warnings.
Trump campaign trolls Taylor Swift with Eras-inspired merchandise. MAGA pastor claims Kamala Harris deployed witchcraft in Trump debate. Ben and Jerry's co-founders unveil Kamala Harris ice cream flavor.
Reuters reports Amazon Walmart's Flipkart breached India antitrust laws. Investigation finds Brazil judge withdraws $3.3 million from Musk's Starlink and X to pay for social media fines. And Brazil's Supreme Court unfreezes assets of Elon Musk's Starlink, X after taking fines. DJT shares soar, as Trump says, I'm not selling steak.
Democrats who urged Biden to exit race say Harris is exceeding expectations. White House will smell like curry. Trump ally Laura Loomer's racist comment on Kamala Harris's potential victory sparks outrage. Trump defends debate performance and calls for ending tax on overtime.
Afghanistan's London embassy to close after its diplomats were disowned by the Taliban. In Iraq, Shia alliance pressures PM al-Sudani to resign over wiretapping scandal. 20 days ago, wiretapping network busted at Iraqi PM's office. No spying took place by employees of Iraqi Prime Minister's office, said by advisor. Brazil changes its position and joins the complaint against Ortega at the UN. Trump rules out another debate against Harris as her campaign announces $47 million haul in hours afterward. Harris challenges Trump to debate again as she rallies in North Carolina. Republican Karl Rove says Trump got crushed by a woman he called dumb as a rock during train wreck debate. Democrats who urged Biden to exit race say Harris is exceeding expectations.
Donald Trump vows bloody deportation of illegal immigrants, threatens jail for those who oppose his presidential bid. Trial begins over Trump train encounter with 2020 Biden campaign bus. In the U.S., retired military leaders defend Harris while placing blame on Trump for Afghanistan withdrawal in letter.
Palm Beach asks for help after spending $93,000 a day to protect Trump. Trump's media company owes more stock to deal architect, judge rules. J.D. Vance got a former professor to delete a blog post Vance wrote in 2012 attacking GOP over anti-immigrant rhetoric.
Harris soars to record 6 points lead over Trump in post-debate poll. In the U.S., presidential campaigns and allies plan $500 million in TV and radio ads. U.S. judges warned of election year risks of foreign hacking.
Microsoft to announce next phase of Copilot on September 16th. Firefox Now lets you access your favorite AI chatbot without switching tabs. China's collapsing EV startups leave owners stranded.
Siemens Mobility to establish America's first high-speed rail production facility in Horseheads, New York. NHTSA proposes new pedestrian head impact safety standards, as U.S. seeks new pedestrian safety rules aimed at increasingly massive SUVs and pickup trucks. Budget Airline offers unlimited flights for €499 a year.
Musk denies report his XAI in talks over Tesla revenue. Honor's latest devices use AI to try to reverse nearsightedness. Kaspersky offloads U.S. antivirus customers to Pango Group.
HSBC considers cost-cutting merger of commercial and investment banking units. Goldman Sachs to post $400 million hit to third quarter results as it unwinds consumer business.
Malaysia central banker sees rate hold in 2024 with growth at 5%. Bank of Japan may hike rates by year-end, says former FSA senior official. Yellen says U.S. economy remains solid, on path to soft landing with no meaningful layoffs.
Apparent camouflaged Tesla robotaxi prototype sighted at Warner Brothers Burbank. Nevada agencies eye artificial intelligence to speed jobless claims, DMV queries. Lucid shows off gravity SUV with Tesla Port and teases a cheaper midsize EV. Micron unveils 36 gigabytes, high-capacity version of ultra-fast memory useful for AI development. Blue Sky's total number of users has finally exceeded 9 million, and video posting function will be released soon. Replit releases Replit Agent, an AI that allows people with no knowledge to create apps simply by entering prompts.
BYD lifts annual sales target to 4 million EVs, plug-in hybrids. Volkswagen's $5 billion deal with Rivian leaves software arm, carried workers frustrated. CEO left out, claimed in a report. India's auto industry faces major slump as 780,000 cars remain unsold.
Rembrandt painting found in main attic fetches $1.4 million at auction. Britain stops export of World War II code breaker Alan Turing's wartime papers. Compass possibly belonging to Nicholas Copernicus unearthed at Frombork Cathedral Gardens. Sam Altman leaves OpenAI Board's Safety and Security Committee. Microsoft announces $60 billion buyback, raises dividend by 10%. Runway debuts API, allowing enterprises to build apps, products atop its realistic video AI model, and AI video rivalry intensifies as Luma announces Dream Machine API hours after Runway.
NBC pulls back Tonight Show to 4 nights per week. World's first Aerospike engine aircraft to take to the skies in September. 4 months ago, world first Aerospike rocket flight test ends in disaster. Elderly Romanian woman used amber nugget worth over $1 million as a doorstop for decades.
Ukraine's Kursk offensive has triggered doubts among Russian elite, spy chiefs say. Biden says, ending ban on Ukraine's use of long-range weapons being worked out. Russian ship captured in satellite image, delivering ballistic missiles from Iran. Utah social media restrictions likely violate First Amendment, judge rules as Utah social media law requiring age verification blocked by judge. Americans used record 100 trillion megabytes of wireless data in 2023. Apple's Fuzzy Feelings wins Primetime Commercial Emmy Award.
Former Samsung executives arrested for allegedly stealing tech for China. MariaDB goes private with new CEO. As K1 closes acquisition. Facebook admits to scraping every Australian adult user's public photos and posts to train AI, with no opt-out option.
Days of tribal violence in Papua New Guinea leave more than 35 people dead, police say. 2 former fire chiefs in New York City arrested in corruption scandal. Former Trump chief of staff loses bid to move Arizona election subversion case to federal court.
Russia expels 6 British diplomats amid spat over long-range weapons, as Putin warns NATO risks war over Ukraine long-range missiles. Russia expels UK diplomats it accuses of spying. US express growing concerns over rumored Iran and Russia nuclear agreement, questioning nuclear secrets for ballistic missiles.
4 prominent columnists quit Jewish Chronicle over Gaza stories based on fabrications. Pope says, war in Gaza is too much. No steps taken for peace.
Elon Musk's XAI accused of worsening Memphis smog with unauthorized gas turbines at data center. In the U.S., job rate for women in tech stubbornly low for 2 decades, study finds.
Zelensky urges the West to allow long-range strikes without distance limits. 2 days ago, The Times reported as, U.S. could allow Ukraine to fire missiles into Russia within weeks. Peace only way out of wars in Gaza and Ukraine, Chinese defense chief says, as China defense minister calls for negotiation to solve Ukraine, Gaza conflicts. Advisor to Indian PM will tell Putin about closed meeting between Indian PM and Zelensky, and India's PM advisor says never conveyed any statements from Zelensky to Putin, announced by Kremlin.
Finland's territory not to be used to attacks against Russia, announces General Staff, as Finland denies Russian media claims of drone attack from Finnish territory. Leaked contracts reveal Kazakh and Russian scheme to service Su-30SM aircraft with French equipment. Russia discharges 45 Indians fighting in its army.
Putin warns, Ukraine's use of long-range arms will put NATO at war with Russia. 6 days ago, U.S. says deep strikes in Russia no game changer after Zelensky plea. NATO making plans of sending its troops to Ukraine, says Russian Deputy Defense Minister, where China and Russia chide West at annual security forum in Beijing. U.S. delays solution to Ukrainian conflict, causes destabilization in Europe, claims North Korea.
The Palestinian economy is in free fall and will require billions to rebuild, the UN says. IDF declares Hamas's Rafah brigade defeated. No active cross-border tunnels found. IDF investigates claim Jewish Chronicle published stories based on fabricated intelligence, of which 1 week ago, it had been reported as Sinwar's secret plan to smuggle hostages to Iran.
Reports claim Israeli troops raided Iran's IRGC weapons facility in Syria, took equipment and documents. The 6 Canadian terror plots police have foiled since October 7th. U.S. Navy SEAL unit that killed bin Laden trains for Chinese invasion of Taiwan. EU's first Sustainable Investment Facilitation Agreement enters into force with Angola on green energy, agri-food value chains, digital innovation, fisheries, logistics, and critical raw materials. U.S. supports 2 permanent UN Security Council seats for Africa. Sweden to pay immigrants up to $34,000 to go back to home country. Lukashenko says Belarus is ready to admit more foreigners for permanent residence.
Korea's LIG Next won Iraq set for $2.6 billion deal on MSAM missile system. Italy tests new generation midget submarines of Qatar. U.S. grants Egypt $1.3 billion in military aid, overriding rights conditions. After more than a century, the Campbell's Company drops soup from its name. Boeing machinists vote to strike after 95% reject contract with a 25% pay increase. Kevin Hart's ambitious vegan restaurant chain, Hart House, suddenly closed all locations overnight. In the U.S., 1 out of 5 borrowers get student loan forgiveness or $0 payments under Biden programs. USA's interest payments on the national debt top $1 trillion as deficit swells. ECB cuts interest rate to 3.5% and warns of weak Eurozone growth.
Mexico will amend its constitution this weekend to require all judges to be elected. In Mexico, Sinaloa governor cancels September 15th, the day for independence of Mexico, due to violence in the state. Colombian President Petro slammed for branding women journalists dolls of the mafia. For $1,000 to low Earth orbit, South Korea's reusable rocket plan targets SpaceX's dominance. FCC chair encourages satellite internet competition. Hint Starlink is a monopoly. A billionaire and an engineer conduct first private spacewalk in SpaceX mission.
J.P. Morgan, Bank of America to crack down on long hours after death of Leo Lakinas, who worked 100 hours per week, and J.P. Morgan Chase caps bankers' week at 80 hours. Verizon to eliminate almost 5,000 employees in nearly $2 billion cost-cutting move. PwC laying off 1,800 employees as it plans restructuring. U.S. and Chinese troops taking part in joint Formosa, former name for the Taiwan island, exercise in Brazil for first time, and China to send troops to Brazil for first time for military exercises. Chinese, U.S. theater commanders talk for first time since 2022 row over Pelosi-Taiwan trip. Taiwan firms less worried about possible U.S. and China war, compared with 2022.
In Russia, first ever Leo Tolstoy Peace Prize awarded to African Union. De Gaulle's grandson tells State Duma speaker about plans to move to Russia. 1 year ago, Charles de Gaulle's pro-Kremlin grandson says he wants Russian citizenship. Ukraine peace proposals fail to protect Russian speakers, says Lavrov. Ukraine restricts Russian POW's phone privileges in response to executions of Ukrainians. Google bans verification of accounts using Russian phone numbers. Ukrainian official urges Toronto Film Fest to cancel documentary on Russian soldiers. In the U.S., leaders of transnational terrorist group charged with soliciting hate crimes, soliciting the murder of federal officials, and conspiring to provide material support to terrorists, as 2 white supremacists tried to spark race war by soliciting murder and hate crimes on Telegram, federal authorities say. Paris court charges couple in Iranian plot to kill Jews and Israelis. Kim Jong-un vows to increase nuclear weapons exponentially.
Trump is safe after apparent assassination attempt at his Florida golf course, FBI says. Biden on Trump shooting incident said, "There is no place for political violence." Suspected gunman in apparent Trump assassination attempt said he was willing to fight and die in Ukraine.
U.S. hits Russian state media with sanctions for raising money for Moscow's troops in Ukraine. In the U.S., Treasury targets Venezuelan officials aligned with Nicolas Maduro in response to electoral fraud, as U.S. imposes sanctions on 16 Venezuelan officials linked to Maduro.
Nielsen announced over 67 million viewers tune in for ABC News Harris versus Trump debate. ABC debate moderators live fact-checked Trump's false claims from the stage, and Trump demands ABC be shut down for daring to fact-check debate. Former Vice President Dick Cheney says he'll vote for Harris. Liz Cheney calls Trump a catastrophe and urges Republicans to vote for Harris, and former President George W. Bush has no plans to endorse in the election. Trump wants 25th Amendment changed to impeach vice presidents.
Taylor Swift has endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Donald Trump says Taylor Swift will pay a price for endorsing Kamala Harris. Elon Musk breaks debate silence with bizarre offer to impregnate Taylor Swift, and reportedly, Taylor Swift drove nearly 338K people to vote.gov with Kamala Harris endorsement post. Nancy Pelosi suggests 30% of Republicans are sexist, racist, homophobic. 88 corporate leaders endorse Harris in new letter, including CEOs of Yelp, Box. London Borough threatens to clear Lime hire cycles from streets over abandoned e-bikes. Havoc. South Korea's summit to target blueprint for using AI in the military, as 60 countries endorse blueprint for AI use in military, where China opts out.
Leaked Supreme Court memos reveal John Roberts' role in shielding Trump from prosecution. France's Breton resigns as EU commissioner, in public clash with Ursula von der Leyen, and France nominates Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné for EU Commission. Vivek Ramaswamy to host multi-part roundtable series on Fox Nation streaming service.
Suspected Trump gunman was once charged with possession of a weapon of mass destruction, and man who appeared intent on killing Trump wrote a book urging Iran to assassinate the former president. Elon Musk's Biden and Kamala wouldn't even try to assassinate anyone post gets 34 million views, then Musk deletes it as a joke. U.S. Secret Service says it is aware of Musk post about Biden, Harris. Change.org announces a declaration of Elon Musk as a national security risk to the United States. Trump blames Biden and Harris rhetoric for latest assassination attempt, says he will save the country. Donald Trump loses Electric Avenue legal battle with Eddie Grant. Jury could be convened over compensation from former president. RFK Jr. says he faces federal investigation for beheading whale. J.D. Vance defends false claims against Haitians, says, "If I have to create stories, that's what I'm going to do," as J.D. Vance admits he is willing to create stories to get media attention. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine says baseless claims about Haitian immigrants are garbage. Russia now using thermite-spewing Dragon drones to torch Ukrainian positions. 1 week ago it has been reported as Ukraine's Dragon drones rain molten metal on Russian positions, in latest terrifying battlefield innovation. Arctic Circle airports closed after suspected Ukrainian drone attacks. Release secret list of alleged Nazi war criminals in Canada, say Polish and Ukrainian groups. 1 week ago, Ottawa warned release of names of Nazi war criminals who settled in Canada could help Russia.
Erdogan says Crimea must return to Ukraine for just end to war. Turkish-operated vessel carrying grain hit by Russian missile in Black Sea, as grain ship hit by Russians in Black Sea was in Romanian economic zone, claimed in the media. In the U.S., Israeli freight forwarder pleads guilty to violating export restrictions imposed on Russia.
Georgia judge dismisses 2 criminal counts against Trump in election interference case. Homeland Security designates next January 6th as a national special security event. AI chatbot gets conspiracy theorists to question their convictions.
To BRICS, 34 countries have expressed desire to join, announced Putin. TASS comments as, IMF supports Turkey's decision to join BRICS, by the fund representative. China welcomes more Global South partners to join BRICS, announced by senior Chinese official.
The Guardian comments as, UK has decided to allow Ukraine to use Storm Shadow missiles in long-range strikes on Russia. Starmer tells Putin Russia started Ukraine war and can end at any time. Poland hosts Blinken, joins calls to lift weapons restrictions on Ukraine, as Polish leaders urge Blinken to lift limits on Ukraine's use of long-range weapons. Poland has zero desire to defend Ukraine, top Polish diplomat says in a conversation with pranksters. Belarusian Defense Ministry suspects Pokemon Go game of gathering intelligence on the country's military bases. UK terror police aid investigation into death of Ukraine podcaster. Russia puts 6 foreign journalists on wanted list for illegally crossing border.
Harris pledges to rein in degree requirements for federal jobs. Trump pledges largest deportation in U.S. history, starting in Ohio and Colorado. Pope Francis criticizes Trump and Harris, and says voters must choose between lesser of two evils. It just exploded. Springfield woman claims she never meant to spark false rumors about Haitians in the U.S. Sam Bankman-Fried seeks new trial, blaming federal judge for ridiculing him. In the U.S., elections bets go live on Kalsha after CFTC's court loss. Recently, Wall Street regulator CFTC moves to ban election betting, escalating fight over new market. MicroStrategy stock pops 8%, after company UPS Bitcoin holdings to $14.6 billion.
WeWork founders' climate firm refunds crypto token holders after failed launch, reported by Forbes. Coinbase version of wrapped Bitcoin, CBBTC, goes live as Coinbase drives $18 billion Bitcoin pool towards DeFi with new BTC variant. Indonesian crypto exchange Indodax shuts down after suspected $22 million hack.
Coinbase must face shareholder lawsuit over regulator risk concerns, judge rules. Ether DeFi to launch Visa Cash Card on Scroll Network. In Japan, a TEPCO firm uses surplus green energy to mine bitcoins.
Michael Saylor says Republicans have more progressive view on crypto, Democrats drifting to the middle. MicroStrategy's Michael Saylor predicts Bitcoin price will rise to $13 million. 6 months ago, it had been reported as MicroStrategy holds 1% of total Bitcoin supply after $600 million purchase. Americans were scammed out of $5.6 billion in 2023 as crypto fraud losses spiked 45%. SEC warns of Bitcoin and Ether ETF risks, labels BTC, ETH highly speculative investments.
SEC signals Ethereum is not a security in settlement with eToro. eToro reaches $1.5 million SEC settlement, agrees to stop trading most cryptocurrencies. UK court rules Tether as property in first English law post-trial crypto ruling. Trump to launch World Liberty Financial crypto platform on Monday, as Trump plans to launch his son's crypto business on Monday, 50 days before Election Day.
BTC Puzzle 66 was solved recently, then stolen by bots. Revolut prepares for 2025 India launch. Apple Pay now integrates with Affirm on iOS 18 following Apple Pay later discontinuation. Payments in Singapore with stablecoins rise to almost $1 billion. Biden aides working on proposal for U.S. sovereign wealth fund. Blockchain music startup Tuned FM raises $50 million from global emerging markets.
Guarding crypto is a lucrative business and Wall Street wants in. USDC issuer Circle announces HQ move to New York ahead of IPO.
UK Parliament moves to recognize Bitcoin and crypto as personal property. Bitcoin miners dump $1.7 billion worth of BTC as rising mining difficulty and weak price action take their toll. Russia plans full-scale digital ruble operations in July 2025. Biden targets Shine, Temu with new rules to curb alleged abuse of U.S. trade loophole. In the UK, millions of Vodafone and 3 customers could see their bills rise, officials warn. White House officials signal delay in U.S. steel takeover decision. U.S. businesses' optimism in China falls to record low. Survey shows, and U.S. companies see record low profits in China amid geopolitical tensions and slow growth, report says. U.S. Congress House approves legislation to restrict tax credits for EVs using Chinese battery technology. European Commission rejects Chinese EV price floor offer as tariff vote looms. USPS long-awaited new mail truck makes its debut to rave reviews from carriers. It took 50,000 gallons of water to put out Tesla's semi-fire in California, U.S. agency says. China directs its carmakers not to make auto-related investments in India.
Ford commits to manual and V8s for 2025 Mustang and beyond despite rivals like Dodge and BMW pulling back. A stock Toyota Prius just drove across America averaging 93 mpg, setting a Guinness World Record. Lotus Electra will start at $229,000 thanks to 100% tariffs on Chinese EVs.
Tony Hawk says he has been talking to Activision ahead of the Pro Skater 25th anniversary. 10 years after it was pulled offline, viral mobile game Flappy Bird is coming back. Ubisoft stock tanks to 10-year low after lukewarm Star Wars Outlaws launch.
Syria says Israeli strikes kill 18 people in a large-scale attack. Bangladeshi Health Ministry reports death toll from summer riots at more than 630 people. In South Korea, in 2023, 61.3 billion won worth of drug smuggling was detected, 18% increase from a year ago.
Wall Street Journal reports that Iraqi banks used U.S.-created system to funnel funds to Iran. Reportedly, Milei made the biggest adjustments so far in at least 65 years. OPEC Plus postpones oil production hike in effort to reverse price slump.
Big Lots files for bankruptcy protection, sells to private equity firm as it promises to keep offering extreme bargains. James Bond's Aston Martin Vanquish set to fetch up to £70,000. Boeing offers 25% pay rise to avoid strike, and Boeing delays suppliers' 737 MAX output goal by 6 months, sources say. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt modder restores secret ending scrapped by CD Projekt. Elden Ring Update 1.14 makes Shadow of the Erdtree's final boss easier, as part of significant balance changes. Underwater mountain discovered is 2 miles high and home to flying spaghetti monsters.
Police deny claims of Haitian immigrants eating pets in Ohio, which is spread by J.D. Vance and right-wing commentators. French far-right leader Bardella allegedly faked documents to avoid EU funds embezzlement charges. Canadian fashion mogul Peter Nygard sentenced to 11 years in prison for sexual assaults.
ECB's chief, Draghi demands €800 billion cash boost to stem Europe's rapid decline, and buy your guns, missiles and tanks at home, Draghi tells EU countries. France asks EU to let it delay submitting budget deficit plan, La Tribune reports.
Deputy PM Mir Grigorian announces official start of Armenia and EU visa liberalization negotiations. Russia expects to launch visa-free regime with Saudi Arabia and Malaysia in 2025. Saudi Arabia open to Petro-Yuan, closer China ties, minister says. Reportedly, America is pumping so much oil that gas could be below $3 by Thanksgiving.
Pew Research announced more Americans, especially young adults, are regularly getting news on TikTok. Discord launches end-to-end encrypted voice and video chats. FDIC unveils rule forcing banks to keep fintech customer data in aftermath of Synapse debacle. 3 months ago it had been reported as Synapse bankruptcy trustee says $85 million of customer savings is missing in fintech meltdown. And last month it has been reported as Synapse's collapse has frozen nearly $160 million from fintech users. FTX auditor fined $2 million by SEC to settle negligence allegations.
Google loses fight against $2.7 billion EU antitrust fine. OpenAI's most advanced AI model Strawberry to launch earlier than planned. AG Ferguson urges Congress to require warning labels on social media.
Unicode version 16.0 released with new emojis, faces with bags under the eyes, hieroglyphs, arrows added, information added to the Japanese character information infrastructure, and more. Cloudflare announces that it has reduced CPU usage by 1% for processes that run 35 million times per second by optimizing its code. Apple must pay Ireland more than $14 billion in back taxes, court rules.
Latvian authorities identify drone crash as Russian Shard kamikaze drone. Stockholm Arlanda Airport temporarily closed after mysterious drone sightings. Ukraine summons Iranian diplomat as Tehran denies missile transfer to Russia.
Sanai Takaichi, first female candidate to join LDP presidency race in Japan.